Hello everyone, welcome to today's episode of DFA Talk. Now today, the topic of our discussion is going to be art is something, art is anything you can get away with. I think this is a sentence that was posted as a question during one of the Oxford interview for admission of the program. I don't know exactly which program it is. I'm not 100% sure of whether this was used in any of the Oxford interview or not, but this does seem like a very interesting question that captured my eyes immediately when I saw it. Now, I haven't prepared anything on this question, and I'm not going to edit any single bit in my answer to this question. So, okay, it's just going to be a completely natural and real answer. So, let's see. Art is anything you can get away with. What does it mean? It's a really intriguing sentence to begin with. To start with immediately, I think it's trying to give a definition about art. So often we will ask question like, what is art? It's really hard to answer, right? It's art is not just a picture. Art is not just a portrait. Art is not a movie or song. It can be any of them. But what really defines art, and I feel like this sentence is defining art in the perspective of, hey, what can you do with art? And it really answered this question in a rather clever way. How to define art? Well, it depends on what can you do with it. What can you do with art? How defines what is art? And how do we define what you can do with art? Art is something you can use it to do absolutely nothing practical. Like, art is anything you can get away with. What does it mean? What does it mean, like something you can get away with? Meaning in life, we can probably get away with a good movie. If there's no Shawshank Escape, we can still carry on. But if there's no food, if there's no drink, if there's no place to sleep, we cannot get away with. So my first interpretation about this sentence is, okay, art is something definitely not practical. Instead, it's anything besides the ability to be practical. So what does it remind me of? It really reminds me of one of the sayings in China as well. One of the I don't remember, a famous writer or thinking in China says something like, anything that seems absolutely not useful is the really useful thing. It's the really useful thing. It's really in perspective. It sort of echoes with the art is anything you can get away with. What does it mean? For example, art. If you think about something, people claiming everything to be art these days. You can see this piece of machinery is art. Everything in the museum is art. This painting is art. But what classify as real art? I feel like this is actually a rather good interpretation about art. Like, anything you can think of something that could be used practically in your life is probably not art, at least probably not artistic enough, because the essence of art is something you only appreciate, like you will be happy, or like you will feel life is more meaningful, more fulfilling, as long as it exists, not because it can make you not hungry, not because it can make you not thirsty, not because it can give you a home when it's raining outside. All those are not art. All those are important, but it's just not art. So that's my interpretation to the sentence. However, I feel like this sentence, on the other hand, this sentence might not be that holistically valid, in the sense that, well, I get it. Something, for example, a piece of painting, Mona Lisa smile, probably doesn't have any practical use besides its value, besides making money out of it. But if you say anything you can get away with its art, I feel like it's a good definition, but it's a little bit narrow. I think the concept of meaningful can vary from people to people. Like, something is really meaningful to me. For example, food is really meaningful to me. Pen is really meaningful to me. Laptop is extremely meaningful to me. However, for another person, for example, for athlete, for basketball player, a basketball is the most meaningful, most practical tool he or she can use. In contrast, a pen might not be that meaningful, might not be that practical to him or her, in contrast with a pen to me. So the concept of usefulness actually varies across people as well. So in that perspective, the artistic value of the same item also varies from people to people. So I feel like if I were to use this definition as the sort of definition of art, I will extend it a little bit. Like, art is anything you can get away with, but the important is you. Like, if you are the only merriment and only defier and the only one who get the power to define what is practical value and what is artistic value, and those things are always in contrast with each other. So in overall, I feel like this is a still interesting question, and if anything, I feel like it reminds us to sort of rewash our own need. Like, hey, what's something that's needed for me in terms of practical value, and what's something that's valuable for me in an artistic way. And the most important thing, personally to me, is to remember the only meaningful merriment is you. In terms of this division, don't believe anything like at least the power to define what is something you can get away with does not lie in mainstream views or any artist, so-called artists. Like, it's individuals who have the final power, who have the final rights in defining, hey, what is my artistic need and practical need. And but overall, I think this is really interesting question. Again, if you like to see me discussing any of the questions you have in mind, those questions better be something we don't think about in everyday life. But any questions, feel free to list it in the comment section, and any of your questions might appear immediately in the next episode of DeFi Talk. Thank you.